and one last chance in the Orioles, and the Ravens are sort of on ice right now, and nothing's happening there. We've had Messi parade around and score one of the more incredible goals we've ever seen in Houston on Tuesday night. And I got a guy here that these are the two parts of the world he lives in. He is the voice and the play-by-play announcer for the Wizards of the NBA and also Major League Soccer, the DC United, and a soccer guy as well, and a guy that I've known for going on 3 decades now. He's down there in DC, and our paths don't cross much, but I see him a lot on Twitter. Welcome Dave Johnson back on, the longtime voice of DC Sports. Dave J. Sports is the way to follow him out on Twitter. Dave, what's going on, man? Busy week for a guy like you that loves sports, right?
No, we often there's always people think, well, when the NFL is done, what is there? Well, fortunately, we've had so many great things going on, and it's been, as you just mentioned, a terrific summer of soccer, and that's the beauty of this social media. Physically, our paths don't cross as much anymore, but we still stay connected through all these things we're all doing on Twitter and Facebook and God knows what. And my favorite part is when I see your smiling wife and there's good news there. And at the end of the day, that's the best news of everything. And that's also one of the great things about the social media and the Facebook that we stay connected, and not only can we share passions, but we can also care for each other.
Well, that's really sweet of you, man. I do appreciate that, and I've been following as well, and I followed the Wizards through your eyes last year during the good times, this year during the bad times. Let's get on to sports here, because I want to get some Messi in, and I'll get to the soccer, but I want to do basketball first because the parade's been swirling around on Wednesday, and the championship, and the unlikeliness of all of it. Dave, the thing that struck me so much in watching, especially the late playoffs, and I didn't watch a lot of Toronto and Cleveland. I was watching hockey. You know what a Caps guy I am. And I didn't even watch a lot of the early rounds. But how far away the Wizards are from where the Warriors and Cleveland are in the end. And that's not just true for the Wizards. That's pretty much true for all the other NBA teams that aren't OKC. I mean, even the Clippers and the Portlands and the Atlantas and the Miamis, they're a long way away from what we just saw Cleveland and Golden State endure.
No, there's no question. But the other thing, and this is why we watch sports, and this is what it's all about, that can change very quickly. The Warriors that we're talking about, the 73-9 Warriors, I don't think anybody saw that coming 3 years ago.
Sure.
Certainly, and I'm not, but to your point, if you're a Wizard fan or a fan of other teams right now, and as we sit here in the summer with the Wizards, it's hard to see the future, primarily because there's so much that needs to be done. We've got a good coach now, and Randy Whitman's a good coach, but I mean, we've got a very good new coach, and it's Scott Brooks, who's had an amazing track record of just developing players. And again, Kevin Durant, I understand, superstar, but you know what? He got better under Scott Brooks. Russell Westbrook was not the Russell Westbrook of today, but got better under Scott Brooks. James Harden was not the James Harden of today. So that's where, if you're a Wizard fan or a fan of these other teams, that look, you have to hope that you have certain core players, in the Wizards' case, John Wall, Bradley Beal, where there's still room to grow. John Wall is an elite player, no question about it. But you know what? John Wall is not Chris Paul elite yet. So from a Wizards perspective, not that far removed from flirting with the Eastern Conference Finals. Then took a punch in the nose last year. Now you have to get back up and respond. But to your initial point going out is the Cavaliers and Warriors right now have set the standard. And as you sit in the off season, not having tasted the success they tasted, it feels like that kind of success is a long way off. But you and I, we've been doing this long enough to know that it can turn very quickly, and if you support a certain team, you have to hope that is the case.
Well, in the case of Durant, I mean, I feel like I've spent more time talking about it than maybe he's thought about it himself. And just, I don't know how much thought he's put into it. It's now sort of the witching hour. Decision time is here. Certainly the fan base, and I see your Twitter as well, Dave. People have had some sort of expectation that at least it would be a strong consideration. I don't get that vibe right now as much as maybe I did a year or two ago.
Yeah, and but again, it's from nothing. We create sometimes, and I say we, I just mean all of us. We start to speculate. Well, Kevin Durant's from D.C. His contract will end, and the next thing you know, we all put the puzzle together. But it's from nothing that either any of the organization said or the player himself said.
But I mean, it's become very apparent with LeBron going back and forth and taking, good tidings with him, as I would say. If Durant signed with the Wizards tomorrow, I can envision them winning. If he doesn't, they're still a long way away from LeBron and from Golden State, and that's really what it takes. It takes a player. In that sport, it's a player. In a lot of other sports, it's a series of players or a series of events or good things that happen. Man, in the NBA, you got to have a LeBron or a Steph Curry or someone that's going to turn into him. And I'm not saying Wall or Beal can't be that, but it's pretty apparent that right now Durant would ring all bells in the area for sure.
Well, no, yeah, and look, in the NBA, they've said for years, and this is why the Wizards last a decade ago were flirting with real success. The popular belief is it takes a three, and I'm throwing out the LeBron James example because LeBron James is three players in one. But when the Wizards were at the height of success, it was the Gilbert Arenas, the Caron Butler, the Antoine Jameson, and before anybody scoffs at that, Gilbert Arenas was, and you're looking up a player that was capable of averaging 30 points a game. It's a shame it ended the way it did, and it didn't work out. So, but that's what it does take. So, yeah, the Wizards still need the Beals and the Walls to develop, and when I say develop, improve. And it takes another player, and Durant would obviously change that equation. Where a lot of the Kevin Durant speculation of maybe coming to D.C. escalated even more was when LeBron went back to Cleveland. So people started to say, well, LeBron did it, why couldn't Kevin? And it could still happen, but I've been asked, and it's not going to surprise you, I've been asked this question 100 times. A former athlete asked me the question, what are the odds of Kevin Durant? I said, look, there's no odds to put on this. As we talk right now, Kevin, and this was an interview I did during the playoffs, he wasn't thinking where he was going. He was thinking about trying to win the next game. ESPN had a report today that the Warriors are going to make a run at him. The Spurs are going to make a run at him. He's positioned himself to have all the options in the world. At the end of the day, it's where he wants to be basketball-wise or personal-wise. And I don't know that. I don't have Kevin Durant's ear. The coach of the Wizards, Scott Brooks, doesn't know that. And he had obviously coached Kevin Durant for 6 years. So once this free agency period opens, it's going to be an interesting time in the NBA. It's going to be an interesting summer.
Dave Johnson joining us here. Of course, one of the voices of DC Sports. You can follow his journey out at Dave J Sports out on Twitter, whether it's Wizards or whether it's United. So, to see LeBron and to put it into words this week, what he's done for the city of Cleveland and the block shot and the statue that I'm sure they're going to build and all the memories and all the swag they're going to sell and all of that stuff. I still love to see greatness, right? And I haven't seen LeBron play in person yet. I know you may find that hard to believe, but over, whatever it's been, 10, 11 years he's been in the league, I just haven't gone down for a game. I had some plans to do it at different times. I haven't done it. He may be the only NBA guy of the era. I mean, I saw, every Dr. J and Larry Bird, Magic. I saw all those guys play back in the Capitol Center days. The Messi thing sort of haunts me, right? So I haven't seen Messi play. I almost went to Foxborough last weekend against Venezuela, but I thought that game would stink so much. Then the USA game sort of sneaks up, and it was a little close in, and I thought, I'm going to go to the final on Sunday. And Messi scores that goal. We talk about waiting to see something great happen, like a Game 7 in the NBA or a 3-1 deficit coming back. The same week you see Messi do something that he hasn't done, and that kind of a goal. And where Argentina is, it has been an unbelievable month for you, man, because soccer and basketball are your jam. They're what you do, man. So this has to have been an incredible week, and still to come with all the Euro coming up, Dave.
Well, no, and look, LeBron James, I think, I can't remember watching a player that can be as dominant as he can be. But to your point, that's a tremendous accomplishment to come down. The first team ever to come back from 3 games to 1. So you're witnessing history. And this is near and dear to our hearts in this area. They were the first road team to win a Game 7 of an NBA final since the Washington Bullets did it in 1978 in Seattle. So you're witnessing what you didn't think would happen. I think everybody assumed, and certainly it was as Scott Brooks and I talked about this morning, actually, it was not a great NBA Finals series. The final game was great drama, and it was good.
And we were all waiting for that, right? I mean, after every blowout, there was the key moment in the whole thing was Draymond hitting LeBron, right? I mean, literally, that changed everything.
No, there's no question. So, that was something to watch the Cavaliers, and also having gone to Cleveland, God knows how many times now between my days in indoor soccer and whatever. I am happy for the people there, and this is what sports does. It ignites a passion like no other. There's going to be a feel good factor all summer long, and it's going to continue for a long time. And people in Cleveland are going to walk with more of a spring in their step and their heads held high because of what LeBron James accomplished. And full credit to him for his reasons and for going back to Ohio. And I say this is not I witnessed LeBron James eliminate the Wizards enough. I'm not a LeBron James fan. But also, here's a guy that donated $87 million yesterday to make sure kids in Akron can go to college. $87 million. I know he makes a lot of million. I get it. But $87 million is still a lot. I don't care how much you make. So, that's good stuff. And, linking it with Messi is there's not another player in the NBA like LeBron James. There's not another soccer player in the world like Messi. And I think about that goal he scored on Tuesday against the United States. First of all, he assisted on the first goal, and that was just sublime. The goal he scored, and Dave Kindred, a great sports writer, I saw him tweet out, and he described it with his left foot shooting from the left. He placed it to the right, an inch, and go back and look at this, an inch under the crossbar, and an inch above the goalkeeper, who, by the way, is 6'4". That's beyond needle in a haystack, and he did it, and he does it. But it's not just a one-off lightning bolt. He's somebody you do need to see in person because he is 5 feet 7 inches, and many teams have tried, and he still does what he does.
Have you ever seen him play in person, Dave?
I have. In fact, I broadcast, and it was a charity game he did.
Really?
So it wasn't, that competitive, but even that was spectacular. But I've also seen him in competitive games with Argentina here in the States.
Yeah, I've been talking to people all month, about Ali and seeing him in person, and being wistful that he fought at the Capitol Center twice when I was a kid. I didn't get there, but some kids in my neighborhood did, and they had ticket stubs, and it was cool and all that. Messi's one of those guys who only played a couple of games on this continent, really, a couple handfuls, right? So you haven't had a lot of opportunity unless you get on a plane and go over to Europe or to the World Cup to see him play, and that's kind of the way. I felt like he's 3 hours away. Even if the ticket's $50 more than I want it to be, I don't care. I mean, I think the Copa Final is going to be unbelievable. I think a chance for him to raise the cup would be something unbelievable. But a lot of people down on the U.S. this week and down on Jurgen and I don't think there's any embarrassment really in the way they played, other than they couldn't get the ball away from the Argentinian team, right?
Yeah, no, I think, look, to get to the semifinals of the Copa America with that field, I think you can, in one sense, say, well, shame about last night, and that's true. They did accomplish something. I think there are some bigger issues with I think, quite frankly, that I expected more. Well, let me rephrase that. I don't know what I expected, because I don't know if Jurgen Klinsmann was the right choice to be not only the head coach of the national team, but also overseeing the technical development of so many programs. We are still capable of, I don't know if we're going to produce a Messi, but the player development is still an issue in this country. And I think that's showing.
Well, MLS is, a quarter of a century in, and it's still not considered to be considered if you're, Pulisic and you're going to go play over in Dortmund, right?
Right. Well, and you're right. And you're getting better. The league's getting better, no question. But, the European League's had a 100-year head start on the Americans, so the salaries are are still bigger in most cases for an unproven American like Pulisic, who from 2 hours up the road in central Pennsylvania, for goodness sake. So and a fair enough point there is there are players out there, and there's enough people playing the game at a high level that should develop. But I think we've come a long way. So I shouldn't be that dour, but there's still a lot that needs to be done to develop that next generation of skilled players.
Well, I guess it goes back to my original point, which is there's LeBron and Steph and everyone else. There's Messi and everyone else, and the other teams get measured upon that, which is fair. That's part of the competition, but it's very, very clear what greatness is, and we've experienced some greatness here in America this week. I mean, we've seen some great stuff in the middle of June when sometimes it's relatively quiet, right? I mean, Golden State wins Game 5 and it goes away. Sort of nothing great happened, right? I mean, if Messi doesn't score that goal and they win 2-1 or whatever, I don't know that anybody be up in arms about it, especially if the U.S. didn't make it to the semifinals, which was in question because, it was an accomplishment to get to the semifinals, I think, given the competition and given where they were, and also given the three of the starters didn't play against Argentina.
Yeah, no, there's no question. I mean, and look, Argentina is number one in the world, and that goes beyond Messi. They could probably field two national teams. The Higuaín, you go right down the list of they really, and we've said this for years about Argentina. I remember broadcasting the 2006 World Cup and thinking, one of the big talking points was, all the players left off the Argentinian national team that year. So they really have an embarrassment of riches. So it's been great. Copa America has been great in terms of the passion it's brought out. That was terrific in Seattle. The crowd that showed up for the United States, terrific. 70,000 last night in Houston, and as you pointed out, also the Euros are going around right now. That's just about really to the match is about to really be set to that competition because now you get into the knockout games. And it's must win, and that opens things up. And, there's some great stories there, like Iceland still has a chance to move on.
I got a pal sitting on Spain-Italy tickets. He's elated, what a great game that's going to be, right?
Oh, yeah, no, that's, Spain, until they were stunned by Croatia the other day, you didn't think they were ever going to lose. Again, and look, Italy is, I don't care what year it is, they always find a way. And they're a great tournament team, regardless of whether you think it's a good Italian team or not, they find a way. So
I personally find the Azzurri to be filthy. That's my opinion, but I'll stick with that.
Yeah. And look, France is, yet to truly ignite. And they have a lot of talent. And it's certainly a fun summer for me. With all this going on. I mean, this month is just a dream month to be able to, some days be watching soccer from noon to midnight, for goodness sakes.
Make time for the family. Make time for summer. Dave Johnson joining us here from D.C. Dave J. Sports. Of course, the play-by-play announcer for the Wizards as well as the United and WTOP, man. Great having you on. I hope you're enjoying the rest of your summer. I know the Nationals are keeping folks busy down there, and the Orioles are keeping folks busy up here, although I don't know who's going to be doing the pitching. And I'm still licking the wounds over the Caps, that's one thing about being the best team like Golden State. They didn't win. The Caps were the best team. They didn't win. There's a little life lesson in that, right?
Yeah, no, because and being around, I was with our owner, Ted Leonsis, just the other day, and I've been around some of the Caps people and players. You'd be hard to convince them now that they had a good season, and they did. But it sure doesn't feel like that. And there's a life lesson that you've got that ultimate goal that you're after, all these other awards, and that's nice, but it's really window dressing when it is all about winning a championship. And it also reminds you how humbling things are, and how much harder sometimes you have to work to attain whatever goal that is. So there's a life lesson in that you can work very hard to accomplish whatever, but sometimes, you know what, you've got to say, all right, I still have to work harder, and I still have to figure out another way. And that's life. And as I talk to you, you know that better than anyone, that there's going to be a curveball coming at you that you didn't see, and you're going to have to react to that. And the Warriors, how will they respond? And what will next year be like? That the Cavaliers kind of showed how to, I don't want to say figure them out because they had LeBron James, et cetera, but they showed them to be human. The Capitals steamrolled through the regular season. But you know what? That didn't guarantee them anything. So how will they respond off that disappointment? True champions are probably measured in how they respond from disappointment. And you know what? LeBron James, certainly, believe it or not, it's hard to remember that now, but he had more than his share of critics and disappointment, and he's a true champion because of the way he responded.
Well, the other issue for both of those teams, and Dave, I don't know if you have to go through the history of this, both teams changed coaches during the middle of the year, both of them had turmoil, and both of them won championships. I don't know that's ever been done before, NBA and NHL, both changing coaches mid-season and winning championships. That's a pretty tough daily double, I'd say, right?
Actually, you know what? I'm glad, it's an interesting point you brought up, and I hadn't even made that connection. That's a great point because, look, and I said it after the Penguins won the Stanley Cup. Yeah, there's no way that you think, all right, the team that changed coaches in December and looked like it was going nowhere is going to be your Stanley Cup champion. And clearly a little bit different circumstances. The Cavaliers appear to be going somewhere, but
LeBron changed the coach.
Well, whoever changed it, they did change it, and no disrespect at all, but I was Toronto played with the Wizards, and I thought, here's a guy who got more out of his NBA career or overachieved. So from that standpoint, I've always believed that overachievers, and that's why I'm encouraged about a Scott Brooks, who's a guy that wasn't even drafted, and that was back in the days when there was a 7-round NBA draft, and he had a 10-year career. You can look at so many examples of people that are great coaches were not necessarily the greatest of players, and Toronto certainly fit in that category. But I thought, all right, how's he going to manage all this? I mean, what a first coaching job to have. So some would say on the outside, well, that's easy. Well, I think, for Toronto, there was like, all right, there's all kinds of expectations, and I've got to manage this and deliver.
Yeah, Phil Jackson wrote tombs about how to do that, right? I mean, there's a real science to how to do that, right?
Yeah, no, it's not. There's no question, especially in the NBA, you need to have players to do it. But you know what? There's more examples of teams that did have players that you think could do it and didn't, and that comes down to, in part, who was doing the managing of it and coaching, and that's why Phil Jackson. I understand he never won a team without superstars, but you know what? He did it. He accomplished it, and you can't argue with his success. And Toronto certainly played a role in the Wizards' Cavaliers' success.
My favorite tweet after the game was, owner of the year, LeBron James. Executive of the year, LeBron James. Coach of the year, LeBron. I thought that was fantastic. Hey, great having you on, Dave. We'll send everybody out to Dave J Sports. Stay cool down there this summer. I think we're going to have a little fall baseball, and, by then we'll have the Redskins to kick around a little bit. That'll be even more fun.
Yeah, next year. Well, we could still be talking to one day about a Nationals-Orioles World Series. That'd be a hit.
Yeah, or a Redskins-Ravens Super Bowl, but
There we go.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be a holy war.
yeah, that would be something.
And imagine Mr. Angelos in the middle of an Orioles-Nationals debate, huh? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Good having you on, Dave. Be well, man.
Take care.
There he goes, Dave Johnson, Dave J Sports, out on Twitter, the longtime sports director at WTOP Radio, as well as the voice of the Wizards, as well as the United. Right up his alley, as he says. Basketball and soccer intersecting. So Sunday night, think of me. I'm going to be seeing Messi play for the first time. I'll be tweeting up some pictures and some social media. Anything you miss around here, you can always find in the Buy a Toyota audio vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world. On your mobile device, just download the TuneIn Radio app. We do come in crystal clear from anywhere that you're sitting. Also, the Buy a Toyota audio vault travels, so it's downloadable, podcastable. Listen when you want, where you want, how you want, and it's all available through your mobile device. Birds home all weekend. Luke's at the the ballpark, you can find me, Nasty, at WNST.net, whether Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. I think that covers them all, as well as at WNST.net. We are WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.